All right, let's talk about one of the weirdest but most important questions in A-level politics. Today, we're going to crack the code on this thing, because once you get it, it is a guaranteed way to boost your grade. So let's dive right in. I know. It sounds completely backwards, right? In every other part of your life, you're told to think critically, to analyze, but for this one specific question, all of your best instincts can actually work against you. It's a really fascinating puzzle, so let's break down exactly why.
Okay, so let's get super specific here. We're talking about AS-level politics, Paper 2, Section A. You get a choice of 2 questions, and it's worth a solid 10 marks. Now, the key isn't just knowing your stuff, it's knowing the very particular rules of the game.
And here it is. This is the single biggest rule you have to understand. This question only assesses what's called Assessment Objective 1, or AO1. All that means is you get marks for what you know, not for what you think. There are 0, and I mean literally 0 marks available for your analysis or your evaluation. None at all.
So you got it. The absolute first key to cracking this code is to embrace the zero analysis rule. Don't just kinda get it, you have to live and breathe it for these 10 marks. This isn't just a suggestion, it is the absolute core of how they grade this thing. What does this mean in practice? Well, it means you gotta switch up your language. So instead of making a judgment, like saying something is effective, you just describe what it does. It facilitates a process. Instead of arguing something is compelling, you just state a characteristic is. You see the difference? You're basically shifting your role from being a critic to just being a reporter.
And listen to this. The examiners are literally trained to ignore any analysis you write. They won't mark you down for it, which is nice, I guess, but it gets 0 credit. It's just wasted time and wasted ink. You have to stick to the facts, plain and simple.
Okay, so if analysis is totally out, how in the world do you get a perfect 10? Well, the answer is a beautifully simple and powerful structure that the examiners are actively looking for. It's called the knowledge block, and this is your blueprint for success.
Every single one of these knowledge blocks has 3 simple parts. Just remember P, D, E. First, you make your point, a really clear, straightforward statement. Next, you give a description, where you explain the nuts and bolts of how that point actually works. And finally, you nail it down with a specific example, a solid piece of evidence from UK politics. Point, description, example. That's the magic formula.
And hey, don't just take my word for it. This comes straight from the people who mark the exams. They've said that the best answers give these knowledge blocks that read just like a perfect little textbook entry. The PDE formula is designed to do exactly that.
So, the big question, how many of these knowledge blocks do you need to write? 1? 3? The magic number is 2. Exactly 2. One really solid block will get you halfway there, about 5 marks. A third one is just a waste of time. The perfect answer is a dual knowledge block. 2 deep, well-explained points. That's it.
All right, we have our structure sorted. We've got the blueprint. Now we need to talk about the building materials, the evidence. Because this, right here, is what separates a pretty good answer from a top mark answer.
Look, specificity is everything. Just saying the PM is powerful, well, that's way too vague. But saying they use royal prerogative powers to do things like appoint cabinet ministers, now you're talking. That's what gets you the marks. Don't just say Parliament scrutinizes. Name the committee, name the project they're scrutinizing, be precise.
And here's a pro tip. Using the correct technical language is the fastest way to signal to the examiner that you really know your stuff. Words like these are like anchors for your knowledge blocks. When you correctly use a term like ultra-virus or collective responsibility, it's a massive green flag that you've got this.
Let's see this whole thing in action. Here is a perfect PDE block. The point is super simple. A function of the Commons is legislation. The description explains the mechanics, how they debate bills and pass them through different stages. And the example? Boom! A specific, real piece of legislation, the Environment Act 2021. See? There's 0 opinion in there. It's just factual, dense with knowledge, and perfectly structured.
So now we have the formula for what to do, but it's just as important to know what not to do. So let's run through the most common traps that students fall into so you can just sidestep them completely.
There are really 3 big pitfalls. The first is what I call knowledge dumping, just listing 5 really shallow points instead of going deep on 2. Second, accidentally evaluating, describing what a committee does, not how well it does it. And the third, we've already talked about, vague examples. You have to be specific.
Just think about the simple math here. Your first well-written knowledge block is worth 5 marks. Your second one is worth another 5. Anytime you spend writing an introduction, a conclusion, or sneaking in some analysis, that is worth a grand total of 0 marks. So, spend your time where it counts.
So finally, before you put your pen down and move on, just run this super fast mental checklist. 1. Do I have exactly 2 points? 2. Have I filtered out all those sneaky analytical words? 3. Are my examples specific to the UK? And 4. Did I use the right technical terms? If you can say yes to all 4, you are in a fantastic position to get top marks.
And there you have it, the rules of the game, the blueprint for success, and all the traps you need to avoid. The code is officially cracked. So the only question left is, are you ready to go out there and write that perfect answer? You've got this. Good luck.